Hello, my beautiful Voidian Children, and welcome back to our life. Why am I playing this game? Continuing to play this game? Because I want to. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than usual. Your sister Lizzie had ran out earlier to go play, but you stayed put. Today, just like your mom had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Ryan? You nodded, smiling slightly. How sweet. I'm so happy he moved in. With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. Haha, I don't know, am I? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then on cue, there was a knock. He was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get more obvious doorbell. I know. Ryan, could you get it? Wiggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door. Hey, Voidian family, thanks for having us. Because y'all are my children. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. When his dad was standing in front of him and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again, you smiled at Cove. He smiled back with some hesitation. He twisted and threaded a bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the crystal bead. You twisted the flower bead bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the shell bracelet on your wrist. Well, people with anxiety really do that. That works. But since this is like an ocean themed, I kind of want to do the shell, but the twisted bracelet. Yeah, we're going to do a threaded bracelet. It's like, you want to see my room? Okay. Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little at the sight of your treasures. There was a lot of stuffed animals, a cold bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to your drawers on the wall. I like this. Me too. I drew that. Thank you. I don't. I'm just gonna say thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the wall. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt like the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad to have the company. You hoped that he liked your room. First one goes with the more the character we're going with for this. You wanted to say something, but didn't know what, so you let him keep looking. And his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things that you had collected tucked away by your door. You took a step forward before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach. Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. Yeah. You gestured to a piece of the bottom, still covered with specks of sand. Neat. This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice, or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Shiloh is coming over. Shiloh? My sister's friend. He wants to meet you. Do I have to see him? It'll be okay, I think. Here, I found this shell in a log, and you pulled out a seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink and purple and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the last few years, you'd even learned some of their specific names. The collection was so huge a variety that you had a lot of funny stories to tell about them. Your voice faltered a bit, but you kept going as best you could. You were really proud of your shell collection, and it made you happy that Cove was interested in it too. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves. Cove listened with what looked like a full force of attention. Had to let my dog in. It was a new experience to be at the center of such dedicated. But Cove hadn't been mean to you, so you didn't mind. You smiled at him every now and then while showing him your collection. Kids come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because you found each other by accident, and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shilloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Okay, just be careful. You should have asked. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Lie down. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh, like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it, his eyes shining. I like this one. I think this one is best of them. That's my favorite too. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. You can take it. Cove looked at you in surprise, his eyes going wide. Really? Sure, you like it a lot, right? But I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he didn't know you very well. You said stick. No, it's okay for you. You pushed the shell against Cove's chest, willing him to receive the present, but Cove firmly shook his head and kept his arms tightly to his sides. It was a battle you couldn't win. At least not today. Cove was your neighbor now. Maybe you could give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell that he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. I'm sorry, there's nowhere to go. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally pushed with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward and paused. You want to break your other arm? Shiloh is the least scariest person alive. Cheer up, Shiloh's gonna like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea, let's go. Hurry, let's see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. The two of you made your way to the window together. Escape! It wasn't much of a distance to climb out, but by the way you landed gently into the bushes, you looked to see that Cove was already taking off away from the house. He was fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast, but neither of you were. At least at that speed, you weren't sure if you could go fast enough to reach him. Cove, I'm coming. You ran as fast as your legs could take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did so. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know, somewhere else. I just don't want to see. When? You looked back and saw Shiloh huffing down the hill after you. The backpack was clenched, bouncing around along the way. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and followed behind. I like Shiloh. Oh, hi, are you Cove? Yeah, I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep. Are we going back? Or are we going to play outside? Shilloh's eyes moved between you and Cove. The smile remained strong on his face. It got a tiny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked why you had been running away. Inside, we left the box on the floor. Yeah, I want to check. I hope Mommy didn't move it. Okay. With Shiloh trailing behind, you and Cove behind, headed back towards the house. I can't fucking speak, y'all. I swear to God. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. You had out a recent find to Cove, a scallop shell that had been washed up on shore. It's a pretty color, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look like a bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay. Fucking slow. Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are cool. I guess. I like those colors too. They're butter colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You look back at yourselves. Yes. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Aw. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really, you do too, right, Ryan? The park is fun. I love it. The park is pretty great. No. No. I'm just gonna agree. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. It's a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just wanted to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your mom that it was so short she could always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swaying back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Why and Shiloh? Hi. That little boy definitely had a crush on that girl and was 100% a simp. Shiloh and Cove, the little simps. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it came to the three of you, but now Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new. I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured wildly with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wiggle your toes to the warm sand. Me too, bro, me too. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with all the ideas. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom's said you're YN's age. Yeah, thought so. I'm still the only one in the group that has double digits. What about the other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. Oh. For a second, it looked like you might cry again. You have us, Cove. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? like moms and dads or grandparents. Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Only some of them don't like kids. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. Yeah, they're really bad. Just gonna do that. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was next to one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Ryan in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot, too. All of the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shilow's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely he didn't really know. But she laughed, face scrunched up. Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put your feet up, and get used to it. You offered him a small smile, and that at least looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and some days, when she was in a bad mood or bossy, you even saw him more than... He became a staple of your entire everyday life. The sun and lunch and the beach were. During the first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed like playing with you too. Of course, that was only the start of things. It still says Cove's dad. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail that you'd been watching an inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face, from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. Reminded you of when you first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to move more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them from sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first and then his dad. Ryan, hi. Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to for today, Ryan? Nothing. You toed the pavement in front of you. It would be nice to tell them about the snail you found, but you didn't know if they liked snails. After you finished answering the question, Miss Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills into tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. It does. You weren't sure about that. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. You don't want to go with him? He gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the directions of the stores like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood. Oh, is that okay? I don't mind. Great, I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached out of his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd, since your moms only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in and passed a crisp pen to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure. That's my boy. Cove ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up, the bill in his hand still held up towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibility that this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand as he fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of the salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel the need to ask why. Nothing. You kept staring down at the ground, though. You bit down on your lip a little, wanting to say something else, but not knowing what. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up to the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. You didn't either. What did you want to go to the shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? You seemed altogether too invested in the floor to pay attention. You decided to watch the waves as they inched closer and closer to your feet and said, "Oh." Abruptly, Cove stopped, then briskly ahead a few steps. What is it? Without a word, he bent down, picking up something half buried in the sand. You hurried nearby, cautiously glancing over his shoulder. It was a shell, lightly pink at the bottom and bleached white at the top. Wow, so you found what you were looking for? Cove got back up, turning to find his head before unbuttoning one of his many pockets of his pants and sliding it inside. I pick up anything that's kind of cool. This is what I got this time. What about you? What do you do out here? I don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at fish. I like building sand castles. Let's do that one. They don't like me, so they always swim away if I get close. But they're pretty before that. Holy shit, what the fuck was that? Cool, starfish are fun. They aren't going anywhere, even if you touch them. A small laugh escaped you. That's true. Once you reached the shop area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You shifted through the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's nice. It's not very nice. It's alright. Say alright, sorry. There was a lot going on, but it beat staying at home and doing nothing all day. You were sure that you and Cove could find something to fill the day if you looked around a bit. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look of his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed at a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas flowing from their middles. And you couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must have been something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over that read "The Amazing Alexander" in glittery gold script. Why tell people his name if it's already on the sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away. Just then the Amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. You bit your lip, reluctantly starting to follow after Cove again. You continued looking over your shoulder, however, wanting to see as much as you could before you got too far away. Hey, not watching where you were going proved a bad idea, as you bumped right into Cove. Oh, sorry. Did you want to stay or something? If that's okay. He briefly lifted his arms up off of his sides before returning them to place. "You could have said so." With that it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. "Watch closely," he did, squinting through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. "What's this behind your ear?" Just gonna casually back away. It wasn't enough to ignore him. The crowd of people gathered behind you and made it impossible to move any further. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you swallowed anxiously. You felt a tug and then pull of the 4 diamonds from behind your ear. What? You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was a light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. "This is for you." The magician plucked a pair of balloons from the clump and tied down on the table. Both were in the shape of dolphins instead of being a normal circle. "And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant." Wow. Why did you say it like that, yo? Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. "Pick a card, any card." My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, but the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove is ruining the fun. At least she had a fun time. You wondered if Cove's whole family was magic. You saw a magic trick and you got a great balloon. There is more than enough to make it worthwhile event. You thought that it could find a card to practice with. Maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Pick up the kaleidoscope, pick up those cube. Walk past the toys. You briefly looked over the rack of toys, thinking that they could be interesting to look at, but you didn't really feel in the mood at the moment. Cove picked up one of the kaleidoscopes and looked through it, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he set it back down on the rock, moving to the other side of the stall. He went under, yawning carefully of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. "Did you see the places like this in your hometown? Are you having fun? I don't really like it here." You said nothing. You stood in silence for a few moments, waiting for Cove to do something. When he finally moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed behind him. "Oh yes, cutie." While Cove looked at the sand pails, you were drawn to the table with colored keychains laid down on it. They were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and they were planked with handmade, standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. You picked the dolphin, you picked up the shark, you picked up the crab. I always had to pick up the turtle. Your hands stopped on the sleeping turtle. You barely poked its head out of the shell. It had flakes of metallic green on its back that had caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remembered the turtles that you had seen in movies. You had been memorized by the way they gently glided through the water. And you were instantly enamored. Checking the price, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know how much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than $5 bill on your name. "Is that what you want?" "Huh?" "Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money." "It's fine." Really? Are you sure?" "Ray, you don't have to. I want you to get it for me." Cove didn't mind that. He took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself. "I was always going to get you something. I already got the money for it." You were a little nervous, but happy with your purchase nonetheless. "You're so pretty." After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphin knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove, yeah? Does your dad always give you money like that? Thanks for getting me at nothing. It's alright. It was clear that he really knew how much you would appreciate it. What? You were going to thank him for the keychain, but instead you shook your head, smiling. Cove raised an eyebrow and you didn't push the issue. Cove looked further down the street where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, just as he did yours, let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wavered over you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you got a plain one, got a cheese one, got warm pickles, got warm chocolate, got the same. You licked your lips hungrily as your vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. Your moms didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. Oh my goodness. You're so spoiled. The little cup of icing looking too delicious to pass on. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are going to make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table and stared at the small bathrobe hand wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it delicately into a bow around his wrist. Oh! Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. Could you help me too? I can't tie it on my own wrist. You repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast, stretching his fingers and one hand of string already tangled around the other. Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now freed and allowed for munching on your pretzels. Alright guys, I think we're going to end the episode there. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.